Hey, how's it going? Okay, so I don't really know what to tell you. I have had a nightmare. I've been on two fishing trips over two weekends, about a fortnight apart. The first trip it was freezing cold. Second trip I went on was yesterday, and it was beautiful outside. I went to a local river, so it's the closest bit of water to me. There probably isn't really much living in there. Nothing that I'm going to be able to catch with the methods I'm using. But it was all about practice, and if I caught anything, it was a bonus. But I just ballsed it up completely. Really poor fishing, just a couple of mishaps. So I'm going to tell you all about it, let you know what happened. Okay, so the first trip, a couple of weekends ago, like I say, to my local river, just up the road. I have to cycle there, so it only takes sort of 10 minutes to get there. It was really, really cold. And I filmed a little intro video that I've posted up already. And I realised after watching that back that it was so cold, I couldn't move my lips very well. So anyway, that didn't really help. So I tried a couple spots. The method I was using, I had my light fast action rod. I had the heavy braid on there and the heavy fluoro, just because that's what I used to be able to see the line. Probably not ideal, I know. And I was rocking a 2.5 gram jig head with a creature bait on it. Now, this didn't prove to be successful at all in the slightest. I found a couple of spots, and I'll show you these spots that I fished, and you could see how snaggy it was, but also what a really naff job I was doing of casting out and actually fishing. You'll see what I mean. Check this out. So if that wasn't bad enough, I decided I'd go back for a second try. I missed the weekend after, so I managed to get out a fortnight later, which was yesterday. Beautiful weather outside. It had been dry all week, so I didn't think the ground would be very boggy. I was wrong. It was. I slipped about all over the place and got coated in mud. Should have worn boots. Yeah, but it was still nice weather. Beautiful outside. So, again, went to the same spots, but the water had died down a bit from the previous fortnight. So the flooding had subsided, but that meant you can actually see more of the current to the river. And there was sections of it that were moving quite fast, which you might be able to see in the clips I'm about to show you in a second. Couple of things went wrong here. So I went with a different approach. I thought, okay, there was a lot of snags before. I wanted to kind of target my casts in a lot more, with a lot more precision. So I thought, okay, I'll give a drop shot a go. So I set up a drop shot rig, had a size 8 hook on there, just with a small bait, just a small lure. Didn't work, which I was kind of expecting. So I took some other bits with me. I was then going to give a Texas rig a go. I've got some smaller Texas rig hooks, and I was going to use a smaller creature bait, just because I didn't think there was going to be anything massive living in there. So started drop shotting. First spot, nothing really to report, but it was a good bit of practice. Second spot, under the bridge. I think I had 2 casts and my reel seized up. What happened was I changed the line. I got some 12-pound braid and I got some 8-pound fluoro. So yeah, I've gone smaller. I've more refined, gone thinner, finer. Probably not as fine as people would suggest going. But again, I need to think of the fact that I've got to be able to see this line. So I still need it to be of a good width. I'm going to do some line comparison at some point. So yeah, it's thinner line. The rod ran beautifully. It was a lot smoother with that finer line on it. But where I tied it up onto the reel to then spool it on, I didn't cut off the tag end, and I forgot about it. And that tag end was sticking out without me spotting it, and it tangled up, and I ended up with a big nest, basically full of line, and I had to cut it all off, and I ended up standing in the middle of this field, just with line all over the place. The wind was blowing, I got all tangled up, it was a mess. So it didn't work. The other thing I found out that I'd done was I'd done a really naff job of filming it. So here's some clip of that disaster of a trip. So what have I learned? I've learned a few things, okay? First, I've learned that it's important to be able to film stuff properly if you're going to show people what you're doing. So I need to do a better job of that. Second thing I've learned is perseverance. Now, I'm not particularly patient. I get something in my head and I want to go and do it. So I went back to this river that I knew probably wasn't going to give me any result, but it's important to persevere. So even if you aren't particularly confident that you're going to get anything or catch, it's still worth the practice. It's still worth persevering and going out. I'm not going to be defeated by a river that hasn't given me anything, or my shoddy attempt at fishing, or my stupid attempt at spooling a reel properly and forgetting to cut off a tag end, which then caused me more problems. I'm not going to be put off by that. Perseverance is important. Don't give up, all right? The other thing I've learned is to try and, try and be nimble with your approach. So I went the first time with just a standard approach, chuck it in, see what happens. Didn't work. Try and refine what you're doing. So I think try to be quick on your feet. I'm trying to learn basically what kind of setup I need in what situation. So that's sort of the main things that I've learned, really. Getting the camera stuff right. If I'm going to show people what I'm doing, try and actually fish properly if I can, which I'm sure I'll get better at as I learn. And I think that goes hand in hand with the other thing about trying to look at the approach I'm taking in different scenarios. But perseverance is definitely most important. People talk a lot about confidence. Be confident when you're going out. Persevere. Don't give up. You'll catch something at some point, I'm sure. I'm sure I will too. Fingers crossed. Next time I'm going to hit the canal, I'm sure I'll have much better luck on the canal. So we'll see you then. Look after yourself. Take care. And at least I didn't, but try not to fall in.